Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you for clicking on this episode. We're on episode 15 now, which is super exciting for me. And I say that all the time. Anytime I get to do this podcast, it just makes me feel so warm and fuzzy inside. I really love doing this and it just makes me feel so happy. So, welcome to episode 15. I have a lot to talk about, so let's jump right into it. So the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the intro for this podcast. I know if you've been listening to this podcast since like episode 2, you're probably rolling your eyes now like, all right, bitch, you done said you were going to have an intro for 14 episodes and we're still clicking on it and you're like, hey guys. So I promise it's coming. There was a lovely lady that reached out to me who I'm not going to say her name just yet because I want to introduce her music and her name all in one episode. But she did reach out to me and we had a meeting just about what I wanted for the intro. And I think her voice and her music was beautiful. So to chop it up, we had a meeting to kind of come together and create an intro and an outro for this podcast. And hopefully this is going to be the last episode that doesn't have an intro. And I'm super excited about that. Now, I do pre-record a lot of my episodes. So either this episode 15 or the next episode next Sunday, episode 16, are going to be the last episodes without an intro. And then every episode from then on should have one. And I'm super excited for you guys to hear it. And I promise it's coming. I've never said I promise before. And if I have, I didn't mean it. But I mean it now. I promise that the intro is coming. And I'm going to make sure that it's beautiful and it's serene and it's calming, but somewhat chaotic at the same time. I just want it to really fit with this podcast title and everything that we cover in this podcast. Okay, so it's coming, guys. I promise. Please do not click off and be like, she just be lying to us, because I'm not doing it on purpose. I promise. Also, one more thing that I learned on that meeting with that lovely lady is that I never promote this podcast. Like at the end of the podcast, it sounds just like a FaceTime call. I'm always like, all right, guys, bye, have a good day. And I never say, comment, like, subscribe. I never do that. And that's so weird to me because every podcast I listen to, at the beginning, middle, or end, they always make sure to say, if you're listening on Spotify, like it, leave a comment. If you're listening on YouTube, subscribe. I never do that. So from this day forward, I will now be doing that. If you just clicked on this episode, welcome. Please like, comment. If you're listening on Spotify and Apple Music, give a rating. I would like it to be 5 stars. It doesn't have to be. If you think this is a 3-star podcast, don't necessarily click that button. But if you feel that way, that's okay. But just lie to me so that I can feel better about myself and give me 5 stars. I would really appreciate that. This podcast is also on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's the same name as the podcast, Chemically Imbalanced Black Girl. So love that. Love that for me and you guys. Oh my gosh. So let's jump right into the episode. I do have a lot that I want to talk about today, but I just want to start off with like a little thought of the day. This is something that I've been thinking about maybe the whole weekend. I do have a little cousin. She's about 16 or 17. I don't really remember. I have a million cousins. I can't remember the age of them all. But she's on the older side. Like I said, she's either 16 or 17. So like peak teenage, and I know you all remember when you were 16, 17, 18, you were like a madman. So she's going through that, and she called me up and was basically complaining because her mom, was getting on her about her room being junky and her attitude and stuff like that. And I know I'm not a parent, so I don't have, the experience to speak on certain things, but I do have fortunately for me, I do have the experience of being, a child like most people. And I do have the open-mindedness to really break down certain conversations. So let me explain did I call her my niece? She's definitely my little baby cousin. So anyway, my cousin was saying, I don't understand why she's so mad about my room being dirty. It's my room. She didn't have to come in here, da 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 da. I get that. For all the parents that are listening, I really do understand that. If I pay the bills or the mortgage in this house, the least that you can do is keep your section of it clean. You know what I mean? I work hard every day, come home, and I just want you to respect the house that I pay for by keeping it clean. I shouldn't have to ask you to do this. Out of sheer respect for me and all that I do for you, I at least expect you to keep your portion of this house clean. I do understand that. I don't want the next thing that I say to overshadow that part, because I do get it. Even though I'm not a parent, I do understand. I'm old enough to know bills are not cheap, and keep my goddamn house clean. I do get that. On the other hand, since I'm so young, I'm like right in the middle of being old and young, I still understand the mind of a teenager, and I perfectly understand the mind of an adult. With that being said, though, I have never understood why parents get so upset by the idea of a messy room, especially with all the other things that come with being a child or a teenager, etc. This room being messy is it's a literal elixir of everything that's going on in my life. As the adult, you have this entire house, apartment, whatever, to keep clean and spread your personality into. You know what I mean? You have the kitchen, you have your master bedroom, you have the living room. All of those things, all of these rooms and components of this house are completely up to you, designed by you, decorated by you, kept clean by you. You know what I mean? The only thing I have in this house are these 4 walls, and my entire life is supposed to fit in here. Not only with everything that I've gathered from me going through life and getting older, but all of the emotions that come with growing up. And the room being messy is it's like an exact replica of that. Like, being a teenager is the most Tasmanian devil experience you can go through in life. And I just feel like now hold on now. If there's like pizza boxes and, apple cores under the bed and Capri Suns in the closet, then that's where it's just like, okay, let's talk about what's really going on, because that's a whole nother level of messy room. You know what I mean? Then that's psychological. You need help. I need to help you. That's a mental illness that we need to talk about. So it's not the same thing. But, like a generic messy room of a teenager, dirty clothes on the floor, clean clothes on the bed, sleeping on top of the clean clothes, shit all over the floor. You know what I mean? It's like these 4 walls are my sanctuary, and it's supposed to be where I can go to be alone, really think about my thoughts, have a alone time, just, be myself. And it's hard for me to do that when you're kicking my door down saying, you need to vacuum, you need to pick all these fucking clothes out, why is everything over there? You know what I mean? And I know Black parents and Black families hate the idea of like personal space and like me time as an individual, especially when you're a child. But it's super important to me. And it's super important to the children at that time. And when you always, kick in the door like SWAT and invade the privacy, it's just like, damn, now I can't even be in my own house, in my own room, because you're always reminding me that it's not my house, it's not my room, it's yours, you pay the bills for it, and I need to keep it clean or up to the standard of your approval. So now it becomes, okay, where do I go for my sanctuary? Where do I go where I can have a peace of mind? Where I can be alone, where I don't have somebody kicking the door down or yelling at me or screaming at me, or, you know what I mean? I need to go somewhere where there isn't a fucking drill sergeant. And I feel like that's when the gateways kick in, like when I was a teenager, I smoked weed heavily. And when I say heavily, I mean, I would be smoking a joint, rolling up another one, just for shits and gigs. I would just, that was just my escape. You can't piss me off when I'm high. You know what I mean? You just can't. You can try, but I promise you it's not going to work to the full, extent that it would if I was sober. If I'm sober and you're cussing me out, I'm just going to cry. But if I'm tickling Jesus's eyelashes, if I'm on cloud 9, you can yell at me all you want to. I'm probably not going to hear most of that shit. You know what I mean? And I just feel like sometimes parents or just adults in general forget what it feels like to be a teenager and have all these emotions and have all of these challenges, and are supposed to compress them into four walls. Because once you start paying bills and you can walk around a house naked, you know what I mean, as that adult, you kind of forget that you have that freedom. You kind of forget what it feels like to be an individual that doesn't have that level of freedom yet. So all you're thinking is, girl, I worked my ass off. I didn't work 15 hours and shit. All I want to do is come home to a clean house. It's like, okay, but this is your house. And even though teenage troubles are, not looked at as important or monumental as adult situations and problems, but it doesn't mean that there's still not huge problems in that teenager's or child's life. It's Valentine's Day and Johnny gave Miranda a Valentine's Day card, and I thought me and Johnny were going out. I cannot clean the dishes right now. I'm having a panic attack, Mom. I need you to relax, okay? The dishes will wash themselves eventually, okay? I need to figure out if Johnny is my man or not, and you're not understanding this level of betrayal I'm feeling. Fuck the dishes at this point. You wash the dishes. This is your house, remember? And then, that's when the rebellion and the disrespect comes. But it's just like, if you would take a minute to forget this dynamic that you're trying to put on both of us, of me being the child and you being the adult, and just talk to me like a fucking person, then you would understand why you think I'm so disobedient, or why you think I'm so hard-headed. Is that I'm not. I have so many fucking teenage thoughts and young person situations happening in my life right now that the last thing I'm thinking about are the goddamn dishes. The dishes are the first thing you're thinking about, because that's all, fuck. Really, work, dishes, kids is all you really got to think about anymore. So I can understand why that's at the top of your fucking to-do list. Unfortunately for you, it's not at the top of mine. And I just really need you to understand that before you start yelling at me. So, like I said, as someone who is in their mid-20s, I really perfectly understand the mind of a teenager and the mind of an adult or a parent in some cases. Because both have valid arguments. It's just the human part of the conversation, the basic human conversation, is what's missing. You're trying to say, well, I'm an adult, you need to do what I say, stop being so fucking invested in your own life and worry about this whole house. And it's just like, okay, I can't. So, I don't know what you want me to say, I don't know. And that's exactly what I, had to tell my little baby cousin, because I was like, at your age, I wasn't thinking about taking the chicken out the freezer. I wasn't thinking about vacuuming or cleaning the bathroom before she got home. I was literally thinking about boys, girls, and if that bitch from second period liked me or not. You know what I mean? You can't expect someone who hasn't lived. You can't expect someone that hasn't lived the same amount as you to care about shit as much as you do. As an adult, you just can't expect a child to be on their P's and Q's like a 35-year-old would be. I haven't lived that life yet. I haven't gone through these experiences yet. I haven't worked 15 hours I can't even imagine working 15 hours, So you can't expect me to, do all these things when I've never had to before. And it's just that simple. And I know some parents are listening to this right now and be like, girl, please, I know one thing. When I come to home and that house not clean, ass is getting whooped. And that's unfortunate, And like I said, I don't plan on having kids, and, I don't have kids, but I just feel like if I did, there would be a certain level of communication that would have to be required, because I get so manic in my own personal mental illnesses. So I just feel like before I strangle you and myself, we need to sit down and have a conversation as two human beings instead of mother and daughter or mother and son. We need to talk as two people who just live together and know each other and love each other, because if not, I'm afraid that I'm going to strangle the fuck out of you and then off myself next. I just feel like I would have no choice but to be very open and transparent with my child, because that's the only way the relationship is going to work. as if I talk to you like you're a person instead of you're my property and you need to do what the fuck I say every time I say something. Which brings me to my next rant. I'm sorry, guys. I know I said I was only going to do one thought of the day, but I just feel like a lot of you would be able to relate to this, and I'm going to try to explain it the best way I can. So hold on. Anybody who has ever known me knows that this is a quote I say all the time. I've been saying this since I was 10. 10 years old, I've been saying this. I don't know a lot, and I wouldn't consider myself, well, I'm not going to say I'm not intelligent because I am, but there's a thing that I say that I like to do, and it's called I'm not stupid, there's just a thing called suspended intelligence that I do often. And I think sometimes people take that as me being, not smart. And if you've ever held a conversation with me, I know there's people I know, of course, that are listening to this podcast, and they're about to be like, oh, she says that all the time. Because I genuinely think that some people think that I'm a fucking idiot. And it makes me sad, but it also makes me self-reflect, because what is it about me that you think that I'm stupid? Like, am I putting off stupid vibes? And I just don't understand what's going on. Because I try very hard to only speak about shit that I know about. Like, I don't know a lot, and I'm not gonna sit up here in front with y'all. I don't know, a lot of things, but I do know what the fuck I be talking about. You'll never catch me in no ignorant ass conversation just saying shit out of my mouth because there's an opportunity to talk. You will never catch me in a situation like that. If anything, I'll shut the fuck up first before I just start spilling random shit. Now, that doesn't mean I'm incapable of having intelligent conversation. It just means that I need to be intelligent in the topic of discussion in order for me to continue the fucking discussion. If I don't know what we're talking about, or if I don't know enough about what's being said, I'll just listen, or I'll just butt out of the conversation like, oh, I don't make enough money to be a part of this conversation, or I'll make a little joke, or like, I never went to college, I don't know what the fuck is going on, or, I'll just straight up say, I don't know anything about that, so I can't give you my personal opinion on it, because I don't know anything to even gather a fake opinion. You know what I mean? I don't know enough about what the fuck is going on to even muster up some, just bullshit. So I just stay quiet. But sometimes I think that, I know that people be having me fucked up when I do that, because when I'm quiet, and I want to know if anybody else goes through this, but when I'm quiet, people think that how can I say this? So if I'm ever quiet in a conversation, it's because I'm taking it as either a learning opportunity, or I'm trying to find out if the person I'm listening to knows what they're talking about, because you can easily tell. And I feel like when I do that, people take it as I don't know shit, and they start teaching me unnecessary shit. I'm all for a teaching lesson, but when you start to try to teach me shit that I already know, or basic shit that everybody knows, it's just like, so what about me makes you think that you have had to say that? And I'm going to give you guys multiple examples, because it happens every day of my goddamn life, and I'm sick of it. And when I say everybody in my life does this to me, I'm not joking. From my mom to exes to friends to everybody. And I'm just like, it has to be me, bitch. I'm the common denominator. It has to be something. It has to be a fucking pheromone. It has to be something I'm giving off, a facial expression. Something has to be telling these people that I'm an idiot, and they have to explain the most basic information to me. So give me a second. I'm going to start with my mom first, because when she did it, I was like, oh, now I know it's real, because you, out of all people, shouldn't have done that. So I was showing my mom a video, like maybe a YouTube video, and I thought it was funny. And it was a dog, like a voiceover. Somebody was doing a voiceover of a dog, and I thought it was funny. And so I showed my mom, and she laughed. And after she laughed, oh my God. So after she laughed, she went, you do know that wasn't really the dog talking, right? Y'all, when I tell you nothing has ever been not funny so fast in my entire life, I just looked at her and was like, what? She was like, yeah, you do know that's not really the dog talking, right? I couldn't even speak. I just stared at her. Because in my head, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Why do you feel like you have to say that to me? And then that's what I said. I was like, obviously, I know that's not the dog talking. And then let's talk about it, though. Because why do you feel like you needed to ask me that? And she was like, oh, no, I'm just saying because, his mouth was moving and stuff. And I'm like, do you think I'm a fucking idiot? Like, that's what I said to her. Do you think that I'm an idiot? She was like, no, why are you saying this? I'm like, because if anybody else showed you this video, you would have just laughed and then called it a day. But you felt like because you were talking to me specifically that you had to make sure I knew that the dog wasn't really talking. Even though in the history of people ever, in the history of this earth being earth, no dog has ever opened his mouth and said English words ever. So I'm getting mad, right? And she's like, just calm down. Like, I'm not calling you stupid. It's just, I was just like... Why though? Like, why did you have to say that to me? Because now I feel stupid because now I think that you think that I'm out here thinking dogs fucking talking shit. And that's irritating as fuck because I don't, and now I'm dramatic and now I'm getting upset for no reason, and now I'm all these things. But it's just like, I promise you, this only happens to me. And I need to know what is causing y'all to do this because it has to stop. It has to stop. When have I ever given you the impression that I think dog... You can tell this one is the one that pissed me off the most. Because when have I ever given you the impression that I'm out here thinking that dogs can just speak fucking English? Like, girl, if you gonna be anything in this entire world, I need you to be fucking for real. I would give y'all another example, but it's just gonna trigger me. But like, that was one example from my mom. Now imagine your mom, your ex-boyfriends, your ex-girlfriends, your friends, people at work. Imagine everybody in your life doing that to you. And you just don't know why. That shit sounds annoying as fuck, don't it? It is. And it does. Because, and I really want to get to the bottom of it. I think that's one of my main things of why my personality has been so reserved within the last 3 years, because I'm just like, I haven't figured out what it is about me that makes people do that. If it even is me. I mean, it gotta be at this point. It has to be. So since I haven't figured that out, we're just gonna stop talking to motherfuckers because that is gonna make me lash out to the point where nobody is gonna want to be my friend or be around me. So let's just put a hold on this personality shit until we figure out what the fuck is making people think that you're a goddamn idiot. Which brings me to my next thought of the day. I know, guys, this podcast episode, this number 15, this is going to feel like a FaceTime call because I got a lot of shit to get off my chest. So to my next thought of the day, which is really going to be another rant. I saw a TikTok where this girl was saying, I'm not a mean girl, but I'm also not a nice girl. Like, she's not unnecessarily nice. And then she's also not unnecessarily mean. And that made me think about myself a whole lot because maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, I might have been the most approachable person on this whole goddamn planet. And that's not even a personal opinion. That's literally a fact from the experiences I've had 3 or 4 years ago. Just nice and bubbly, and you can just say whatever the fuck you want. Ask any question you want. No boundaries. No, this I was like the embodiment of a safe place, excuse me. And now, like I said a couple episodes back, quarantine and COVID really took a lot away from me as an individual and my personality, because when you suffer from any type of mental illness and you spend an unwanted amount of time alone, it does something to you, whether it does a good thing or a bad thing. You come out a lot different than the way you came in. And that's just a fucking fact. So when I heard that TikTok, it made me think about how people perceive me and how much I've changed and how noticeable the change is. And everywhere I go, I feel like people perceive me differently. I'm from Virginia. I've lived in Indiana, and now I'm here in Florida. And I feel like the difference in Indiana and Florida are astronomical. Because I lived alone when I was in Indiana, and basically all I did was travel for work, I feel like I was not the most approachable person. I went everywhere alone. I just did everything alone, whether it was out to eat, go to the movies, go shopping. I was just by myself, and that looked like I just didn't want any company. The resting bitch face was present at all times. I just don't want anybody to talk to me, and nobody ever did. Now, does that have to do with a part of Indiana that I was in being heavily racist? A little bit, but it still is a factor that I just had the demeanor of, I don't want anybody to approach me, don't look at me, don't talk to me. So now that I'm in a different phase of my life here in Florida, I'm trying to give off this sunny girl, like, oh my God, I love being outside. I love people. Like, I just love everything. And I want everybody to come up and talk to me. And it feels so fake because I don't. Like, I know I tell you this all the time, but there's times where I want to do everything in life completely by myself. I'm not interested in any men. I'm not interested in any woman. I just want to be left alone. Maybe a couple animals, And then there's times, this is how you guys know I'm a Gemini, and this is also how you know that I'm like mentally insane. But, a flip of a switch, and I'm so lonely, and all I want to do is be held and kissed on, or just treated like I'm important. And that's such a confusing way to flip-flop, because both feelings are not only true, but both feelings are so fucking strong that you would think when you're feeling one, the other doesn't even fucking exist anymore. So when I was listening to that TikTok about the girl saying, her not being a nice girl and her not being a mean girl, I was like, I really understand that, because some days I feel like, skipping down the street, giving random people compliments, buying lemonade from the lemonade stand. And other days, I just want to walk around and pretend like I'm the only person in the fucking universe. Like, I don't want to look at people. I don't want to talk to people. I just want to do what the fuck I got to do, not interact with anybody, and go back in my goddamn house. To the point where on those days, I get so mad at traffic. I get mad at pedestrians walking across the street. I just get mad if I see any other individual on those days or weeks or months where I just don't want to be included in the human race. Like, I don't want to be a member. I just want it to be me, And I know that sounds weird as fuck, but there's been times where I've wanted to take myself out to eat. So I do. And I'll go to like my favorite restaurant, and I have to give the waitress, like, I have to like, come here for a second. I know this is going to sound terrible as fuck, and it's going to sound like I'm a bitch, but I promise I don't mean to be. But please do not keep coming over to this table and ask me if I'm okay. When my food is finished, matter of fact, when I want you, I'm going to get you. Don't keep coming over here asking me if I need a refill, asking me how the food tastes. Just leave me the fuck alone. Obviously, I don't say it like that because I'm not a fucking asshole. But, I say it as sweet as possible. Like, don't come keep checking on me. I'm okay. When I'm ready to go, I'll wave you down, or I'll come up to you and I'll grab you to get the bill. Just stay the fuck away from me. Because I just don't want to interact with anybody over and over, and especially unnecessary like that. Like, I'm gonna give you a tip, so don't worry about the service. I promise you I'm gonna give you that. Just for me and how I'm feeling today, just let this be our last interaction until the bill comes. Please, Jesus, please. And then that's such a weird thing for the next week for me to hold a goddamn 30-minute conversation with the waitress about, the lobster of the day. You know what I mean? So it's such a weird thing. And I was reading the comments on that TikTok, and everybody was like, oh, same girl. And I was like, see, but I feel like I am a nice girl. I've just been so, I'm not going to say damaged, but I mean, kind of so. I've just been through so much that it's just like, sometimes I just don't have the fucking energy to be a nice girl. And sometimes it's effortless. Like, it's so, I really hope y'all understand what I'm saying, because it's really, it takes nothing out of me to do either. It's just whatever I'm feeling for that day or that week or that month. I'm not even trying to do it. It's just the way my mentality is set up for that period of time. You know what I mean? It's either hot or it's cold, and I can't control it. And there's something else that I want to mention. If there's any women or men listening to this that do fluctuate between, that hot or cold personality. As you guys know, if you've been listening, you guys know that I'm adopted, know that I've been through foster care and stuff like that. So I used to have a really hard life back when I was a child. And there are some things that I had to do that I'm not proud of it. Basically, you know how they say you had to get it how you live it. Really used to do that shit, right? So when I'm going through this nice girl phase, or when I'm trying to, just like everybody's New Year's resolution was, I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to be more open. I'm going to listen. I'm going to be so sweet and buttery. You know, that was my New Year's resolution. But I feel like, and I need you guys to comment and tell me if you guys notice this, or if this is something that you go through in your personal life. I feel like whenever I try to shut out all of my like negative characteristics, or just anything that isn't like sweet and super buttery, anytime I try to like be that girl, I feel like that's when my gangster get tested so fucking much. And it's just like, wow, because when I was a bitch, nobody was doing this. You know what I mean? When I was walking around ignoring everybody with my headphones in, looking down, not making eye contact, you know, not the life of the party, nobody was doing all of this. So now that I'm trying to be, you know, sweet little strawberry shortcake, everybody feel like they could just step on my fucking toes and you know, and it's just going to be peaches and cream. And coming from somebody who had a rough childhood like I did, and you know, isn't scared to, you know, punch a motherfucker in the face, I feel like it's such a disappointment when nobody takes you seriously, when you're trying to be the positive person, when you're trying to be the sweet girl. Why does it take me to have to revert back to the shit that I'm trying to get rid of in order for you to take me seriously? Like, you shouldn't, I shouldn't have to cuss you the fuck out in order for you to be like, oh, damn, she don't play. Or I guess she wasn't joking. I wasn't joking when I was smiling. Now that my fucking elbow is in your throat, now all of a sudden you want to realize that I'm not fucking playing with you. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And I'm not going to lie. I do have negative characteristics. I do have things about me that I would like to change. And, you know, I'm actively trying to change them. That's why I'm not in a relationship. That's why I'm, you know, I don't want to have any kids, because I feel like the process of me detoxing all of that out of my system is going to take far longer, you know, than it should. But as long as I know that, then it's okay. And I know I just said that it takes no effort for me to be that sweet girl and for me to be, you know, this uninterested ass bitch. Sometimes it does, though. I take that back. Sometimes it does. When I'm at work, or when I'm in a professional setting, or when I know that I should be on my best behavior, even though I'm opposed to whatever the fuck is going on, it does take some effort. And I feel like in those situations, when I'm purposely trying to be on my best behavior, I feel like that's when my gangster get tested the most. Because I just don't understand that. You know, like, it's already taken me a lot in the first place to put this goddamn smile on my face. You know, you keep talking to me like you're crazy, or you keep doing some shit that you know I don't like, and it feels like you're trying to get a reaction out of me, you know, and if you don't stop playing, you go get one. So and you know, learning how to be, you know, unresponsive and patient, those are things that I'm still working on, because I used to be quick to jump into a fight, or I used to be quick to cuss people out. I'm not so much anymore. Now I've reverted to just being quiet. And these days, especially, for some reason, people would rather you be loud and obnoxious and cuss their ass out over for you to just ignore them in general. You have no idea how many times I've been called into the office, called to HR, had a meeting on myself just because I don't want to talk to anybody. But if I was up in here cussing all you bitches out, I feel like y'all would like that a whole lot more, because then you would just fire me. But when I want to be to myself and quiet, you know what I mean? I just feel like nowadays that's taken as more of, I feel like being quiet is taken more as aggression than actual aggression is. And that's fucked for so many reasons, because it's the things that I'm holding back by being quiet, you know, it's taking a lot. So I think you should appreciate the fact that I'm shutting the fuck up, but I digress. But all right, guys, I am going to wrap the episode up there. See, I said it was going to be a little short episode. I kept it right in the time limit that I said I would. I do want to leave you guys off with a question. And if you're listening on YouTube, comment in the YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please comment. Or if you catch this clip on TikTok, come to my TikTok or my Instagram and just comment. I want to know your answer to this. So this is going to be the question of the day. The question of the day for you guys is, let's say one random day, this is for guys and girls. If you were having the worst day of your entire life and nothing is just going in your favor, the bills aren't paid, you're coming up short on money, your dog is sick, your kids are sick, some other family members are having problems and you're the person they go to help, but you can't help. You're feeling sick. You're just having literally the worst day possible. Your car won't start. It's just everything wrong that you can imagine is just going wrong. So you decide to take yourself on a walk. He's like, I just need to get out of the house. I don't want to worry about a bill. I don't want to worry about a sickness. I don't want to worry about that fucking car not starting. I'm just going to go on a walk and just clear my fucking head. Just listen to some music. So let's say on that walk, you turn a corner that you've never turned before, and it turns out to be an alleyway. You walk down the alleyway because it's dark, you just need to be alone. In the back of that alleyway, you see two bags that are kind of glistening. They have this kind of otherworldly glow to them, right? Almost as if it was alien-like. The label to the first bag is $10 million. And the label to the second bag is the key to life. Or the answer to life. And it's specific to you. Not just anybody, but it's specific to your life. Which bag are you picking up and why? You can't pick up both. You can't trade bags. Once you pick up one, you have to keep that bag. You can't go back and switch them out. Which bag are you picking up and why? I want to know in the comments. I want to know in the comment section. Let me know. But all right, guys, that is the end of the episode. Thank you for listening. And again, if you're listening on Spotify, rate this show what you think it deserves. Like I said, if you think this is a 2-star podcast, I would not want to see you do that. But if you think this is a 5-star podcast, or even if you think this is a 4-star podcast and you think it has the capability of becoming a 5-star podcast, just give me the 5-star anyway, because we're going to get there. So just do it anyway. If you're listening on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And let's just watch this podcast grow together. We can do it, guys. Thank you for clicking, and I'll see you in episode 16. Bye.